Welcome to FCPS All-Stars. We have with us today Rebecca Hageman, 5th grade teacher at Centerville Elementary School. Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm very pleased to have you today.
Well, thank you.
So we were talking a little bit, and I think it'd be interesting if people found out where you were from.
I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I was born and raised there. Met my husband in Buffalo, and we moved here about 14 years ago.
Well, tell me a little bit about your family.
I'm married to my husband, Cliff, and we actually just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And we have 2 children. Cassidy is a senior at Urbana High School, and Elias is in 8th grade at Urbana Middle School.
What brought you to Frederick?
Well, originally from Buffalo to Maryland, my husband came because of business. He came to sell real estate with his father and his brother. And then we settled in Montgomery County originally. But then as my daughter was young and she was getting older and into the school system, I started doing a lot of research with the schools. And I found that Frederick County had superior schools in the area.
Go figure, Frederick, Maryland has the best schools. Never would have guessed.
Yeah.
Of course we knew that, right?
Right.
So you moved from Buffalo. Is your family here or just your husband's family?
My family is not here. My entire family is in Buffalo, New York.
Your entire family is there. He has family here. He's doing business. All is good, right?
Right.
And then there was a moment that was pivotal for your family, and it was a life-changing event. Can you share with us what that is?
Yes. Life-changing is an incredible way to say it because that's exactly what it was. Beginning of the school year, this year, it was a beautiful fall day, and we said our goodbyes in the morning, and our family is really big on, hug and a kiss goodbye and telling each other, that we love them. And I was going to have a procedure that day, and so my husband took his motorcycle, and we allowed my daughter, who was 17, to take the car that I normally drive, so that she would have the car for her and her brother after school. We wouldn't be home until late. So he and I were going to meet back at our house so that we could drive to the hospital together for my procedure. And ironically, he posted on Facebook about 11:30 a.m. prayers out to the Hageman family, meaning for me. He didn't, disclose what that was. Little did we know that, the prayers would certainly be needed. About 40 minutes later, he got on the 270 to come home, and his gas light went on, his motorcycle. So he stopped, pulled off, and got gas. And as he was pulling out of the gas station, he noticed a woman who was on her phone, and she was texting, and her phone was just right in her face. She was not looking up at all. And she crossed 3 lanes of traffic. And he saw her, and he tried to avoid her, but he wasn't able to. So she hit him. He went flying through the air, and he was laying on the ground.
Oh my gosh, and then what happened?
Well, his femoral artery was severed, and so he was bleeding out right there on the street. And luckily some strangers had stopped and seen the accident. And my husband never lost consciousness. So he told the strangers, he said, you have to tie off this leg, you have to put a tourniquet on his leg. So strangers took off their shirts and a sweatshirt, and they proceeded to put 3 tourniquets on his leg, which ultimately did save his life. And even still, with doing that, he lost 50% of his blood at the scene.
So I know that he has survived.
Yes,
but
thankfully, yes.
What has life been like since then?
Well, as a result of the injury, he ended up having his leg amputated. So he is a below-the-knee amputee, and he's had 18 surgeries to this day. He was in the hospital for 2 months.
Wow.
And that hospital stay was extensive and full of complications and a lot of overnights and a lot of unknowns, and there were several times that he died. He almost died again in the hospital.
How has this affected your children as a result of the accident?
Well, our children are amazing. They are amazingly strong and resilient. They have just wowed us all. Of course, initially at first it was a shock, and they didn't know what was going to happen, as did I. Nobody knew. Mm-hmm. So it was really, really difficult. And they were so strong. After a couple of days, they went back to school, and we tried to, put a little routine back into their lives, which was difficult because they just wanted to be, at the hospital with mom and dad. Mm-hmm. But we knew that that was important for them to get back into some routine. But, at the end of this, or, we're still in the middle of this, they have been just amazingly supportive. Mm-hmm. And they have seen, perseverance, and they have seen their dad through the most difficult time, obviously, of his life and of my life and of their lives. And it has definitely brought our family so much closer together, and makes you appreciate just honestly being together and being alive, because things could have turned a little differently that day. Definitely life-changing.
Absolutely.
It's really hard. It's still very, very hard. He is going to be fitted for a prosthetic eventually, but he had an infection at Christmas time, so he had to have more surgery. So it is, and he hasn't been back to work since September 9th, and it's definitely everything. Things that used to be simple are no longer simple.
I couldn't help but notice your wristband. It seems as though your entire community has rallied around you.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I would be happy to. We live in the Villages of Urbana, and as I said, I teach at Centerville. Mm-hmm. And the community and our friends have been just absolutely amazing. From the moment that this happened, when they had to give me the news of the accident, and they had to get me to the hospital, and they had to get our children to the hospital, and hospital visits, and they started a meal train, and actually if you can even believe it, it's still happening to this day. And 5 months later, we're still receiving meals. It is amazing. I teach 5th grade at Centerville, mm-hmm. and early on, in the hospital visit, I had 4 of my girls make this blanket, and one of the moms sent me pictures of the girls making the blanket, and they spent hours and hours picking out the material and making the blanket, and they wanted to make the blanket big enough for the 4 of us. Oh. So they delivered it to the house, and so then I took it up to the hospital and gave it to Cliff, and we've had it, we had it up there the whole time.
Well, this has certainly been a journey for your family, and I'm hopeful that some good things do come out of it in spite of all the terrible that you've experienced. Your community sounds amazing. Your support system sounds wonderful.
Yes.
In spite of all of this, and I know it's got to be hard to think of it because you're in the now.
Right.
If you could give one nugget of wisdom to people today from your heart, what would that nugget be?
To appreciate what you have and to be grateful for what you have, because honestly, it can change. It can change in an instant, and it did change for us. I think we are all very tempted to look at our phones, to send one quick text. It can happen to you. It happened to us. So if I can just, my message, to appreciate and be grateful, and to not look at your phone when it's in the car. I don't even look at my phone anymore. Put it in the back seat, put it in the trunk if you're so tempted. But it can change your life, and it can happen to you.
Right.
You are not safe from it.
Right. Those few seconds almost cost your husband his life.
Absolutely.
And those few seconds have changed lives forever, and not just yours, but your entire community, because everybody has been affected and impacted by that decision. So I'd like to say today to everyone, please do not text and drive. Please do not look at your phone and check your phone, because that quick second can be the second to cost a life.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal story. I appreciate you sharing from the heart.
Thank you.
And everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next week with FCPS All Stars. And don't forget, shine on.